Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about having some patience during reunion, especially during the first year or two, because your emotions will run high and you'll be anxious to get to a point where you always thought you would be in reunion. So before I get to the details of what I wanted to talk about, let me introduce myself. My name is Kat Davald. I am a 48-year-old birth mother to my 32-year-old daughter, and we have been in reunion for 4 years now. So I bring up this topic because lately I have been seeing a lot more people come into my birth mother groups who are either in reunion or just reaching reunion. And there is such a rush to have it become those hopes and dreams you always thought about during your time apart. And unfortunately, you have to slow down. There needs to be a great deal of patience when you reach reunion, because you might really want to move things along, but your adoptee may feel a little bit uncomfortable and might not like the pace that you're going at either. Now, it could also be the reverse. Your adoptee wants to go much faster than you want to, and you want to go a little bit slower. There's always needs to be a compromise. One thing that I remember hearing very early on in my reunion, that I read this or I heard it from somebody in another group, was that there is always going to be one party that wants more than the other, and when in reunion. So you have to remember that. While I'd love to say birth mothers are the ones that want more, I can't, because I don't have the adoptee perspective, and I've read plenty of things where adoptees really do want to have a reunion. So I can't say it's 50-50 or it's one more than the other. I know from my personal experience, I'm probably the one that wants more than my daughter does. And I just feel like it's that way. I don't know. She could be secretly hiding stuff from me. I have no idea. But I honestly think that if I were to let all my emotions go and just go crazy buck wild with everything, I would probably be the one overwhelming her and not the vice versa. So when you start out in reunion, take it slow. I know you want quick results and you want to meet and you want to get to know them and everything right away. Take your time. There is a lot of time to be had, and there are a lot of emotions that you need to go through. The stories that I hear about are ones where the birth mom wants quick results. They want callbacks and text backs and responses and those types of things. And I get it. You know, when me and my daughter were first reunited, we were emailing each other, and it would take about a month between an email. And if I didn't hear, I remember there was one time where I didn't hear anything, and I emailed to her and I was like, I just want to make sure you're okay, because I haven't heard from you. And, first of all, it was me second guessing things, because in the back of my mind, I was also like, did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? Because you're so scared to get something wrong in reunion. And she wrote back, she was just like, no, I'm super busy. I got this, and that going on. I'm so sorry, I'll get to you. That's all I needed, and I understand when adoptees don't give that little bit, that it can be frustrating and you can be angry and you can be hurt and everything, but you cannot take it personally. They're probably fighting so many demons with themselves. So please try not to take it personally. Maybe like what I did with my daughter, I kind of made it into a joke, and she kind of like jabs me with it now and again. But I was like, if you could just let me know you're not dead. Like, if you can just, like, I told her, I was like, I get it that you're busy and, everything. But, if you leave me on read, then I know you're still alive because you read it. But if you don't read it and I don't see that, read receipt in text or an email, I'm like, oh my God, what's happened to her? So maybe make it into a joke like that, or just say, I can understand if you need some time, if you can just, respond with a period, or just somehow, maybe they can respond. Sometimes they won't want to, and you have to accept that. But you please realize they are probably going through a whole bunch of emotions themselves. A lot of times, these reunions are also with young people. And I'm talking 18, 19, 20, early 20s. When me and my daughter reunited, she was already 28. So she was a lot more mature in being able to deal with her emotions and everything for this. So, but when you're dealing with a 20-year-old kid, and I'm sorry, they are kids. If there's anybody 20-year-olds watching this, you're a kid. I'm 48. You're a kid to me. But, there's so many complex things you're already dealing with as a 20-year-old. Never mind in reunion. So take, maybe try to be a little bit more understanding for their behalf, in that respect. A lot of what that looks like when I hear, birth moms getting angry or upset that they haven't received a response, it sounds like you're centering yourself in this, story. And it's not all about you. The adoptee needs some centering too. And as far as I'm concerned, I always center the adoptee first. I'm able to deal with my own feelings and put my feelings aside. Some people can't do that. But really, the adoptee should be centered and everything should be done around the adoptee because they did not have a choice in the matter. And yes, I understand that a lot of us women didn't either when we gave birth. But the adoptees need to be centered and they need to be given some grace as well. It's not all about your wants and needs. It's about theirs as well. And if you can maybe come to a compromise, perhaps things can start to reflow between a communication for you. But you do also have to have patience. Sometimes they're just not ready to open up, and even though you are. And trust me, believe me, I know it's hard. I second guess myself all the time when I first reached reunion, probably for the first 2 years. There's always, did I do something wrong? Did I say something bad? Oh my God, maybe she doesn't care anymore. Maybe she doesn't, want to talk to me anymore. Everything. It all went through my mind. At this point, we are 4 years in, and she really keeps justifying what I do to myself. That doesn't make sense. My daughter says things to me that allows me to stop second guessing myself. Okay? So, and I'll give you an example. I text her every morning. And I text her good morning, and I text her a little weather emoji, depending on if it's raining or cloudy or sunny or whatever. And like a little blurb, like, hope you have a good day, or something crazy, something stupid. I try to be funny. She probably thinks I'm, bad at jokes, though. So I do that every morning. And when she was going on vacation with her family this year, I said, okay, I will refrain from my harassment. And she texted me back, it's not harassment. But in my mind, my whole entire life, because of circumstances that I'm not going to get into, but because of those circumstances, I always felt like if I text too much, like I was being overbearing by sending a text every morning. It's just something that has grown up with me, and it's part of me. But she made me finally realize, like, yeah, I'm not really being harassing, But to me, with my mental crazy, to me it's harassing. So when she said that, I felt a lot better about sending those texts every morning. And literally, that just happened this year. So we were almost I'm sorry, my nose keeps itching. But we were almost 4 years into reunion, and I'm just getting that validity. Does that make sense? I'm just getting, that feeling. So, patience. You need to have a lot of patience. It's not going to go quick. And if you're meeting your adoptee when they're 20 or 23 or whatever, you have so much time ahead of you. You've got, the rest of your lives. Of course, unless you're got some type of illness or something like that, you've got plenty of time. And that's why I don't rush things with my daughter, because she was 28, she's 32 now. I was 43 and now I'm 48. So, it's kind of like we've got a lot of time to not make up for the past, but we've got a lot of time. We just do. Okay. The other thing that I did a lot was I read too much into her not responding, especially at first. Like now, I'm like, she's either working or she's at her boyfriend's house or she's with her daughter or something. Like, I don't read too much into it. And now it's like, okay, because her time schedule is very different than mine. But I'll text her in the morning, and I don't get a response until 5 o'clock at night. And I, there's reasons why and everything, but, like you can't just read into her non-response. If she didn't respond to me for 24 hours and she didn't read it, then I'm like, okay, what happened to her? She ditched somewhere? Bleeding out, something like that. But our relationship is in a good standing, so there's no reason for me to think otherwise. But when we were early on in our reunion, I definitely did, because you are so scared of doing something wrong. One of the best things I did was communicate this stuff to her. And she smoothed everything over for me. So now I do want to bring up the fact that I have a daughter, and sons are different. I just they are. I think girls tend to be a little bit more open and wanting that connection a little bit more. And I'm not speaking for all boys or all men or anything like that, but I just think that girls are a little bit more open. I have read that as well too. So you might have to give some time and give some grace to that young man who's just becoming an adult. Because trust me, I know the feeling of wondering where that message is, where that text is, where that email is, where that phone call is. I get it. I understand that feeling. But be patient. Don't lash out. Don't, come with an attitude and say, why haven't you texted me? Or continually, asking like, have you gotten this? This, that, and the third. Because if you seem like you have ruffled feathers and you're bothered by that, that's more than likely going to push them away. And that would be with anybody. I don't care if you're going on a first date, or if this was a reunion with your child. You can't show the ruffled feathers that, you're annoyed by their actions, because that might just push them away. Like, oh, they want too much too quickly. I'm not down for that. So just be aware of that too. What I did during this time, during these first few months of reunion, was to educate myself. I wanted to learn about her possible perspective of how she looks at me and what I can do to make it easier for her. My biggest fear was overstepping her boundaries. So what did I do is I started reading books, and I joined different groups. So the two books that I would say are really great for learning from the adoptee perspective is Primal by Nancy Verrier and uh, Journey of the Adopted Self by Betty Jean Lifton. Lifton, yeah. And they're both linked down below if you're interested. Those are two great books to learn from the adoptee perspective. And then also join some triad groups. And generally the definition of triad is the adoptee, the adoptive parents, and the birth parents. But it has come to a lot of realization through all these groups and everything that is more than just a triad. And there's so many more different working parts in an adoption, like the agency, the lawyers, the DCF, like all different types of people come into play when there's a possible adoption. A really good group that I enjoy being in and learning from is this one right here. It's a triad group with all different moving parts, and people are very respectful, and it's a great group to learn from. So while you're waiting for your adoptee to kind of come into themselves and maybe have some more questions for you, or be able to open up to you a little bit more, try educating yourself. Try learning a little bit of where they're coming from so that you can maybe ease them into it as well. Maybe after a few weeks of silence, you can send them a text and say, I think I messed up, and I'm sorry. This is what I've learned. And maybe show them that, you're not some crazy kook, and you really do want what's best for them, and you're happy with the reunion, but you realize you've overstepped some boundaries, and you're willing to create corrections in order to have a healthy reunion. One huge thing that I know bothers a lot of adoptees is adoptee loyalty. And adoptee loyalty is where the adoptee feels an obligation to their adoptive parents. And that's completely understandable. I can see why that they would have that. But this makes them feel conflicted in reunion with their birth mother. So you have to realize that those are real feelings that adoptees have a lot of times, and they're valid. These are the people that raised them. This is mom and dad to them. They are able to have that confliction. But maybe if you set their mind at ease, it would be easier for them. Now, a lot of times, the adoptive parents also may not want the birth mother or the birth father in the picture. That has happened as well, and this creates adoptee loyalty issues. Problems for the adoptee, because then they're gonna, well, what am I gonna do? I've heard of adoptees waiting till their parents pass until they find their birth mother, so that that they don't have to disrespect them, because they feel that they would be disrespecting, or they didn't want to hurt their mother or father, whatever. So learn about all these terms. Learn about what your adoptee has the potential of feeling. And I'm not saying that every adoptee is going to feel every single same way as all the books do. But reading this stuff and learning about these things from different adoptees gave me an idea of the issues that my daughter could potentially be facing, and it allowed me to set boundaries for myself so I didn't overstep hers. But listen, the root of everything, what it really comes down to is reunion is not a sprint. It is not a race to the finish. It is a marathon. It takes a load of time. It takes time to build trust, and it takes time to build a relationship. Don't expect a miracle overnight. And yes, they do happen. They do happen where mother and daughter, or mother and son, or father and daughter, or whatever combination, they come together, they click, boom, they're together, and happily ever after. Yes, it happens. Most of the time, probably not. But if you're willing to work on yourself, and you're willing to stand by your adoptee while they overcome their insecurities and deal with their demons, then you can potentially have a successful reunion. Reunion is forever. It's not, oh, we had reunion and now we're not. Me and my daughter will always and forever be in reunion. It's a roller coaster, and it continually goes up and down. For us now, it's not as much of a big peak. They've flattened out a little bit, but every once in a while, this summer, I was a mess. You know, every once in a while, it still peaks and issues still come up. So please be easy on your adoptees and have patience. Trust me, I am so grateful I am in the position I am with my daughter. And it's taken work and it's taken a lot of time. But I honestly think that it is so worth it, and it has made our reunion easier for the both of us. Okay, so that's all for today's video. I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.